All right. Um, all right, so welcome to day 2 of Limitless. I hope that you guys managed to ponder over the homework from last night and come up with where they possibly came from. And we'll go through that. But first, I'd like to do a little meditation. And we'll start there. And if anybody wants to share after the fact, maybe we can dissect and work through a limiting belief together. And then after that, we'll work through how do we spin all of this and make them into empowering beliefs so that we can make them work for us. All right. So I invite you to turn off your cameras. And if you give me just a moment, I'll get my sound started. And I will share my screen so you guys can hear the sound. So I call this meditation creating a new story. I invite you to sit comfortably in a chair, a bed, or a couch with your feet planted on the floor, with your hands on your lap in receiving mode. Extend your spine, stretch it out, and when you're ready, gently close your eyes. Let's start by taking a few deep breaths in through your nose and out through your mouth, letting go of any tension in your body and in your mind. Inhale again through your nose, out through your mouth. And again, when you exhale, release all of the stressors and the tension and just let go of everything. Let go of your day, let go of your thoughts. Just let it all go. And one more deep breath in. And releasing. Now, as you allow your breath to settle in and to just become natural breathing, I invite you to ask yourself the following questions. What story am I telling myself right now? Am I more loving because of this story? Does this story make me happy? How do I want to edit this story? The stories we tell ourselves are often subconscious, that we are not fully aware of how they may be influencing our lives. These narratives tell the story of the world according to our own perception. And quite often, they limit what is possible for us and our happiness. So just take a moment to answer those questions and bring to mind the stories you believe about yourself and how they may be holding you back in some way. And these stories can be about absolutely anything, such as an activity, a habit, a specific behavior, or a specific fear or doubt. This story can also be related to another person or a job. So just bring this stressor to your awareness now without any judgment at all. And don't attach any frustration to it. And once you've identified your story, notice how your body feels. Pay attention to what thoughts arise when you believe this story. And ask yourself, who created this story? And is it true? Begin to imagine what it would feel like if you didn't actually believe this story. And see how it feels to let go of it, even for just a moment. What would it be like to soften or release some of these stories that we tell ourselves? What new possibilities would open up if we explored this? Just think about it for a few moments now, waiting to see what arises. Pay attention to your thoughts and your feelings without any judgment. Observe how you feel as you let this story just go. Ask yourself what you would do differently if you didn't believe in this story. And as you go throughout the day or the night, ask yourself what story you are holding on to that might still be holding you back. Remember to be patient and compassionate with yourself as you let go of your stories. And as this practice comes to an end, take your time coming back to the room and into your body. Begin to come back to your surroundings, stretching your fingers, wiggling your toes, feet. And when you are ready, open your eyes. And as you go about your day, I invite you to be aware of the stories that you are playing in your mind and ask yourself, is this story serving me? And is this story true? All right. Let's come back to the room. Let me stop sharing. How was that for everyone? So good, right? I think we should all start this practice of this new story every day, just to remind us. Hi, Elizabeth.
I'm so sorry I'm late, but I
No,
was waiting. I was in the waiting room. So,
I was doing the meditation and I
oh,
was totally not paying attention to my
hi,
screen. I
Michelle.
apologize.
Hi, Rustin. Hi, Amber. Hi, Elvira. Hi, Stan. So excited to be here.
We're so happy to have you. Um, so I just did a meditation. You're gonna have to go back and watch the replay, but I called it creating a new story, and it's really about the stories that you tell yourself, right? The stories that you play in your mind, and just go and listen to the replay. It's quite empowering. Even me just telling you and doing this meditation for you guys, I'm kind of like thinking of myself too, right? So it's wonderful. So did you guys do the homework from yesterday? Did you come up with some limiting beliefs that you might want to share and that, and if you don't want to share, it's okay. This is a safe place, but if you don't want to share it, totally understand. Elizabeth wants to share. Yay.
Yeah. So, yes, my limiting beliefs is I'm not smart enough. I don't have my doctorate. That's been like my biggest thing because coming from I'm sure Michelle could resonate. I mean, us being Asians, they strive so much on like your resume. You know, if you're not an MD or PhD, they're like, okay, what are you? Like nothing. So I was supposed to go to medical school. I dropped out because, I became I substituted for teach as a special ed teacher, and I thought, wow, this is going to be my everyday job. I am not going to medical school. I'm going to be a teacher. So I did that, and so fast forward 30 years, and it's like, oh, you just only have a two master's degree. No, no, you have to go get a doctorate. So now, me being in this realm of coaching, you know, so that's always been my limiting belief. So as you can see, it always like was a big like a lump in my
Mhm,
chest. Like I
mhm.
didn't go and get my doctorate or finish my MD. So, but I'm
But
like
who
F it.
says you have to get a doctorate, right?
Yeah, it's all
As
cultural bound and it's all
of course.
societal. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So it's
And
just been so imprinted and conditioned in my mind that I'm not enough or smart enough or respected enough. So it's always been my so that's why I have so many like certifications because I didn't want to go to school, but I got like hypnotherapy
you and me both.
certification.
I keep getting more certifications thinking it's gonna bring me
Yeah.
more fulfillment, more joy, right? Like
Yeah, and I probably could have had two PhDs
of
by now with all
course,
the certification.
of
Yeah.
course.
Yeah, but for me, it was more meaningful because so like totally functional, relevant, something I can use like right now with my clients. So now I'm in my 50s and it's like, F it, I don't care anymore. I love what I do and I'm making changes. So, but it does somehow sometimes it creeps up. So I have to notice it, recognize it, that it's not me. So yeah,
And
so
you
thank
have
you
to
for this
remember
exercise.
you're making such an impact doing what you're doing. Like the coaching that you do, Elizabeth, it's so beautiful. It's so powerful and it's so needed. I don't think there's enough of people that want to actually focus on teens or on children with disabilities, right? And incorporate their
Yeah,
parents into that. To me, that is such a beautiful thing. And
thank you.
you should turn your story around of how incredible of an impact you're making. And you're making such a difference. And you don't need you don't need a doctorate to make that difference. You just need to be you
Yeah.
and to serve in the most beautiful way that you're doing,
Yeah, and to deal with this limiting belief, it's definitely having this exercise to recognize it, validate it, know that it's there, but it doesn't serve you any good.
right?
Even just until like last week, I was just applying for the doctorate of education. I'm like, why? So I'm like, no, I'm done. So thank you for this exercise. It really, again, just self-awareness, right? And that's what we're here to do.
You know
So I
what? And
appreciated it.
you use the right word. It is all about awareness. The moment you have awareness, everything changes, right? Because now you're aware of that little voice in your head. Now you're aware of your thoughts going into one way or another, or things creeping back up that you once said, no, 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 you're not allowed into my head. You're not allowed into my space, right? But because you're aware of it now, you can you can say, nope, I don't allow this. And you switch it around. You know what? And I think this is part of what I want to go over today is when this stuff creeps up, what do we do? Right? Because for all of us, if they were ingrained in us for 50 years, because we're only just starting to do this work, it's going to take a long time for us to reverse engineer all of this. But if we practice the empowering beliefs and we do affirmations every day that turn those beliefs into a much more positive thing that is good in our life, and we instill those beliefs into our mind, eventually it'll get replaced, right? It's repetition. Um, and I think that that's a really big thing, right? Repeating, repeating those, repeating that stuff into your mind, it'll stick because that's how it came to be in the first place, right? Being told that we weren't good enough as kids, or that, I'll use that example again, but money doesn't grow on trees. It's like, I can't tell you how many times as a kid I heard that. It was always being told, right? And then, funny enough, one day I bought a money tree and I'm like, money does grow on trees. I bought a money tree. And then I was like, actually, wait, money maybe it does grow on trees. And then, you start to kind of shift your mindset and start to believe that things are not the way you've been told. You've been told a lie all along. It's been a great big lie, right? Just because your parents or your family or your teachers or whoever might have instilled these beliefs into you told you that it was so, doesn't mean it is, right? We have the choice. We have the choice to reverse this. We have the choice to say, no, I don't want to believe that. And no, it's not my truth. And I'm going to tell myself a new story. Goes back to my meditation, right? Create a new story. And that's what we need to do to reverse all of these limiting beliefs in our life. And we don't want to tackle them all at the same time. We want to prioritize them, right? Like yesterday, I gave you homework. I think I gave you space to put down 9, maybe 10 limiting beliefs, right? But there were questions afterwards, and I wanted you to focus on one limiting belief. Answer the questions for that one limiting belief, and then tackle that one. And then the next day, or the next week, or weeks later, tackle another, right? But never tackle more than 3 at a time. I think that's the biggest thing is once you've kind of done the work, tackle those 3, right? And then go find more. And, Stephen said, how do you know if you've reached that point? I think you'll never reach the point. You'll always want to expand and be more because that's what we're here for, is to become more, to become the next best version of ourselves, right? It's you get to a place where you're extremely happy, but there's always more. You can always go for more. And you can always change. This is the thing is we're so instilled in the way that things were put into our brain. We were programmed to believe certain things, but that's like there's so many different things. And it takes time to dissect it all, right? So we don't want to tackle it all at the same time. Um, so I'll leave it at that. Anybody else want to share a limiting belief they came up with yesterday? Go ahead, Elvira.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Elizabeth, for sharing that. And I was supposed to be a doctor too, and I didn't have the marks to be a doctor. So I became a lab technologist and I worked at Princess Margaret for 7 years in cancer research. Wanted to slip my wrists after 7 years of that because it's not who I was. I got plucked out to do pharmaceutical sales, and that's why Lynn and I connected so well. So I did 20 years of that. And yet that wasn't who I was either. And then I had a breakdown, a mental burnout, breakdown, corporate, shit show that really was my biggest awakening. It was the catalyst I needed to get out of that inauthentic life to live my truth. And thank God I'm doing that today. I have 7 streams of income. I'm a coach. I'm a speaker. I'm a jazz singer turned sound healer. I have a whole bunch of different healing modalities. So I'm living my dreams. I'm truly not working a day in my life. I'm so blessed to say. And I'm also the founder of this movement, the Miracle Magnet Movement, that states all modalities matter. And I have a beautiful platform where people can use my platform to plug and play and serve using my modality and making really good extra income, or if they want, they can put their own modality on my platform, because remember, all modalities matter. It depends on what you need, right? So this is what I'm doing, and it's a big freaking purpose, right? And yet, when I turned 62 this past August 10th, my mother forgot my birthday. So my mother just turned 85 2 days later. So I was my birthday's August 10th. She turned 85 on the 12th. And so on my birthday, she forgot to call. And I thought, oh dear. And I've been noticing her going on the cognitive decline. And there's a reason I'm telling you all this. And when I turned 50, she forgot my birthday. And I remember being so upset because I thought, my mother doesn't love me. I turned 50. She doesn't remember my birthday and call me. Meanwhile, my dad had died a few months before. She went to Italy to really just decompress and to heal from her grief. And the poor woman forgot my birthday, but I took it personally because my trigger is, as a little girl, I did not feel loved by my mother. My mother was the ice princess, right? That was the limiting belief I had about my mother. So I remember getting really upset. This was like, 12 years ago, because I just turned 62. So this was when I was 50. So that was before I did a whole bunch of personal development that I'd done since. So when I turned 62 on August 10th and she forgot, I didn't get angry. I just said, oh my gosh, my mother's on the cognitive decline. She's going to feel so terrible when she realizes that she forgot my birthday. And so anyways, what happens is the next day I called her and I said, hey mom, how you doing? She goes, good, I'm doing fine. I said, okay, great. Just checking in. It was my birthday yesterday. And I think you forgot, but not, I think you forgot, but I wasn't upset. I was just pointing it out to her. Right. And the old me would have freaked out. Right. So I realized how much inner work I had done because I didn't freak out. So she goes, oh yeah, your aunt told me. And I'm like, my aunt told you yesterday that it was my birthday and you didn't think of picking up the phone to wish me happy birthday. She was always the first one to call me on my birthday, singing happy birthday to me. And so the fact that she didn't, and the fact that she didn't even feel bad about it, I was like, oh my God, what's going on? Right. So I realized, okay, she's probably on the cognitive decline. We need to do something. She's living in a big house. My brother owns a whole bunch of properties and he put her in this house and it's massive. And I'm like, bro, we need to talk. We need to, mom's on the decline because she forgot my birthday, realized it the next day, didn't care. And so anyway, so we ended up meeting on her 85th birthday, 2 days later at her house. And I said, okay, let's put a plan in place. How are we going to help mom? And he goes, you know what? Mom's fine. Maybe she forgot because she just doesn't care about you. And I was like, what?
Wow.
And so that triggered in me, the little girl in me that believed my mother didn't love me was very, very activated. And I remember, yelling at my brother and saying, you need therapy, right? And I just said some horrible things. You need therapy because my brother is like so not into personal development. And so I just was so hurt that he thought my mother didn't love me because that was triggering the little girl.
Of
And
course.
so anyway, yeah, so I ended up leaving and, telling my brother to F off. And it was a shit show. My poor mother's 85th birthday. But she was just kind of left like stunned. Like, I can tell she's not all there. So anyway, so a few weeks later, my brother, I apologized right away. I said, look, I was very angry. I was very hurt. I said some things I shouldn't have said. I'm really sorry. He never apologized for his part in it. So, so about a month went by, 2 months went by. My brother still didn't apologize for what he did. And I said to my mother, Mom, I don't know how I'm going to have Thanksgiving with my brother. When he was so cruel to me, he told me on your birthday that maybe you forgot my birthday because you didn't care about me. And so I had the courage to tell her this. And so what it did is, like you said, Lynn, it brought awareness to this old story in my head that my mother doesn't love me. And she goes, No, how could I not love you? You're my daughter. And it was so sweet. Like my mother just basically said, I forgot. And I'm thinking, of course you forgot, and this is just part of aging and it's okay. And don't beat yourself up around it, right? But it was nice to be able to say that to her and to hear her respond the way she did, like, no, of course I love you. And so then I ended up saying to my brother when he called about a week later, because my mom said to him, you better talk to your sister because Thanksgiving is coming up and she's very hurt. And so anyway, so he ends up calling me and we ended up having this chat. And I said, look, bro, when you said those words, you activated the little girl in me that thought mom didn't love me. And I was hurt. And I'm letting you know right now that, that's what happened. And I know that's not true, but it's a story that I've held on to for a long, long time. And I'm actually grateful. This is the cool part. I'm actually grateful to my brother for activating me because I had a chance to go deeper into my own healing because he activated me. So that's an old story. And I'm super aware of it right now because because of yesterday
Because
and
it's
today.
right there.
Because it's right there. And you know what happened as a result, guys? Today, I ended up having this incredible conversation with this lawyer who connected one of his employees connected me with him. And this is a guy who was super passionate and an advocate for mental wellness. And I told him about my solution, my personal evolution solution that saved my life at rock bottom when I had depression, anxiety, panic attacks. It took it all away. And he wants to meet me for dinner and he
That's
wants to
incredible.
help me bring this to the world. So I am so, so
So good.
grateful
So good.
that this conversation has allowed me to up level, to raise my vibration. Oh, thank you for the love there. Oh, that's so sweet. That this conversation has allowed me to up level so that I was able to have this incredible conversation with this guy today without the old story of my mother. Thank you for again for the love. Without the old story of my mother doesn't love me because I know my mother loves me. She loves me in the only way she can. And she wasn't the mother I wanted, but she was the mother I needed to turn me into who I am today, which is a fierce badass. Thank you, Rustin, which is a fierce badass, yet sensitive soul. And that's who I need to be to do my purpose today. So I am grateful for all of it because it turned me into who I am. And so thank you for letting me share that and actually
Of
vocalize
course.
that to this group.
Alvira, it's the childhood traumas, they're real and they you don't even know they're there until something like this happens to kind of uproot it, right? To
Yes.
bring it back up to the surface. Um, yeah, it's and they're real. And it's funny because I yesterday I was doing my own homework. I was like, okay, I've put out this homework to these people. I'm going to do the homework too. And I actually went back and both my parents have passed away. And so for me, my parents aren't here to trigger this stuff in
Mm.
me, right? But um I'm noticing the way that I respond to my son sometimes because he's so much like me. And I'm like, oh my God, this is something my mom would have said way back when. And then I take a step back and I'm like, okay, where is this coming from? And I dig into that to kind of figure out where, like, I really need to know where it's coming from. But all of this has only started to kind of, as I'm doing this work on myself, it would have never come to the surface before. Like if you're not in this work or you're not truly kind of doing work on you, you know, the university of you, you would never, right? You would never ever uproot this stuff because you would never be aware of it. Now
Right.
we're aware of it.
Yeah.
Now we can do something about it, right?
Yeah.
And as as a conscious collective, we we can make a difference,
Yeah.
right? We can raise more awareness and just, yeah, make a difference. Yes, Stephen.
All right, I will give you my most extreme limiting belief that I am now getting close to putting my finger on, and that is my impatience. I have been somebody that has been extremely driven in my life. I want what I want when I want it, and it's now. And if I can't get it, the 5-year-old inside is going to jump up and down like I was a spoiled little brat a long time ago and turn blue until I got it. And I'm in an industry that is so callous, I suppose is the word I'll use, that you can fail immediately, but you can win overnight. And they don't care. They really don't. And at the end of the day, I have to think on my feet extremely quickly. And education has never been a problem. The problem has been looking inside, taking my eyeballs out and turning them back the other way. And it's interesting that on the call this morning with Kathleen, she brought up the book in regards to Joseph Murphy.
Mhm.
And I've researched and read a lot. Let's just leave it at that. Two things that come to mind from him are one is that there's enough fruit rot in the Caribbean to feed the whole world. And the second and most important is that being poor is a sin. And if I go back to all the psychologists that I've researched from 100 plus years ago, if you look at what Carl Jung said, until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate. And in my case, it's been accurate to the T. So as I start to hone in on my impatience, lack of patience, I'm starting to slow down. And again, I look at individuals, and I've been kicked to the curb a few times. And every time I get up, dust myself off, I would work harder
Mhm.
to a point where I would put 72 hours in on a regular week and not think any of it while I was married with a young child, and the rest is all history. With that being said, I had two of my rocks die on me. One was my wife, and the last one was my mother. And I had my head on my backside so far that when I finally pulled it out, my ears were full of you know what. And I had to take some time and deal deeply within. And I'm out the other side now, and I'm all good. And that's not the point. The point is that when someone needs to become the rock, it's a totally different set of circumstances. Yet, out of all of that, after my mother died, I knew then because I was bought a business when I was a young man. Let's just leave it at that too. And I royally screwed that up. And then my dad said to me, first of all, you're too damn smart for your own good, but you're really good at math. Become an engineer, you'll always have work. So I thought, okay, well, if you're paying and there's girls and beer there, sure. And that's history too. So since that, I've got a couple more degrees, and that's all water under the bridge. Yet I can sit at my desk and watch kids do what I'm trying to do, yet I'm not there to the extent I want to be there. And I recognize that I need to keep going deeper in regards to the patients. And I don't want to be somebody that can sit on a log all day with my feet crossed and sing kumbaya. But on the flip side of that coin, I need to know that when I need to slow the thinking down from, you know, the time frame, I have to think in milliseconds when I'm at work. And sometimes I'm not there. And that's when I need to stand back, because I've been that bull in a china shop all my life. And I've walked out with cuts and scrapes. And so, with that being said, what I realized today is that all good things do come to those that wait. And that is an oxymoron in itself,
Hmm.
yet it's pretty accurate. So, you know, I want to thank you, Lynn, by the way, in regards to that, because as I open myself to receive over the last 3 days, I've had some really interesting things happen that were like, all right, this is good. This is cool. I'm down with this. Let's take it up to another level. I don't know how that works yet, but I'm
Mhm.
open to receive that. So anyways, that's
Can
where
I
I'm at.
ask you a couple of questions? Do you mind?
Certainly.
So you talk about your patience.
Yes.
Do you know where that comes from?
Yes, I do.
Have you have you gone to face it yet?
I thought I had, and I guess maybe I haven't to the degree that I want to
Yeah,
be,
yeah.
right? And that goes back to, I suppose, parental, right? Because like I said, my dad was not an easy man to be around. I know he loved me, blah, blah, blah. But on the flip side of that coin, his life was, yeah. And it was like, okay, Dad, are you going to work? And case in point, yeah, I pour myself back in from Buffalo when I was a kid at like 7 o'clock in the morning. He'd be going out to work and look at me, and he'd look at me like, what are you doing? And I'd say, I'm not doing anything to hurt you. Just get out of my face, kind of thing, right?
Hmm.
But I know at 13, he did something that really made me want to put more walls up. And, and I was really good. I'm really good at what I do. I really actually am. And I knew it at 13. And he expletive all over that
Hmm.
and said, that's not going to work. And then I floated out a couple other ideas, and he said, no, those aren't going to work. So when I was 16, he said, what's up? I said, I don't know. He said, well, that's right. So I know it, and I've looked at those areas, yet what I experience is, and here's the difficult part that I'm having challenges with, is how do I put them to bed so that they're to bed forever, as opposed to when I'm at work and they come up and then I end up, you know, not having the outcome that I want.
So you're going to need to kind of what I was saying before was we need to turn those into a more empowering. So how do we turn that around, right? But you also say, you'll sit there and you'll work 72 hours a week. That is, you're very much into your masculine energy, like ex beyond, right? There's no, and so I'd like to make a recommendation that when you because now you're aware that this is happening to you, right? you catch yourself when you're becoming impatient. And I know that you're saying, everything you have to act quickly. I would invite you to take a step back, go into a meditation, even if it's just for 5 minutes. Clear your mind, go into the feminine for a moment, because that's what meditation is, right? And you'll calm your insides. You'll calm all the activity that's going on, that's brewing, and it'll help you think clearer, right?
And that's interesting that you should say that because I knew that I needed to start working on my own neuroscience. And I did. And I recognized that. And when she was going to the next world, she went so fast that I had no idea. And I haven't smoked a cigarette now for the better part of 20 years, but I had cigars because I blah, blah, blah. Make a long story short, nicotine actually does relieve the dopamine within the brain. So I can kind of go, huh, right? So yes, I've done the meditation and I understand that. And I'm grateful for that suggestion. Maybe I need to start doing it because, I suppose at the end of the day, it goes back to my own beliefs, right? Because I was raised by a very devout mother, extremely devout. And she instilled beliefs upon me that was like, wow, okay. And I'm now starting to recognize and starting to understand that. And it's interesting that that should come up because I had a conversation with my sister today, and it basically morphed into critical thinking. And isn't it all about critical thinking? And when I say that, isn't that something that allows one to be able to think for themselves, right? As opposed to having blinders on like a horse,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
So,
It's also allowing yourself to be with yourself, right? And listening to what's going on inside of your head, inside of your heart. And, Elizabeth said something, asked the question, what brings you joy, right? And it's about refocusing your energy, right? If you're drawn to the anxiousness of the impatience or the weariness, the stuff that's kind of going on inside of you, but now you're aware of it, catch it, switch it around. Go to your place that brings you joy. Go inside and be in a peaceful, quiet place with yourself, with your thoughts, and reverse engineer those thoughts.
okay, then let me ask you this question.
Hmm.
Because I have such a, I suppose, large network of friends that know me and have gone through some similar circumstances, I have one friend of mine that him and I had this conversation about 2 to 3 years ago in regards to the waking moments after one arises and the thoughts that come into the mind within that period of time and what you do and what you need to do then. And that is something that I've been challenged with all my life because there have been points and times where, let's face it, you get, say, 3 times a month, you get up with a song in your head, and that loop was like, how do I get this song out of my head? Right?
Yep.
So I've really even started paying strong attention to that as well. Right? So this awareness expansion journey actually is a beautiful thing. It really is.
It really is. And what you just said about your thoughts first thing in the morning, what do you do with that energy? What is it that you do when you first wake up in the morning?
I'm trying over the last couple of weeks to change that within a very short period of time. So then what I'm doing is I'm going in and listening to 432 megahertz music, right? So I can connect to the
You're
vibration.
kind of doing a meditation in a roundabout way, right?
Sure.
You're being
But
quiet, you're listening to something that's kind of resonating with you, right?
yes,
How about if you journaled your thoughts?
I, okay, so can you quantify when journaling my thoughts?
So I journal twice a day. I journal when I get up in the morning. I offload everything that comes to mind first thing in the morning, right? I literally, I need to let it go so I can start my day. I've put it down on paper. And then I'll do it before I go to bed because now I offload all the stuff that's been rummaging through my brain all day long. And that's now like potentially going like this because my brain just goes squirrely all the time. So I had to like start offloading while I download my brain onto a piece of paper.
All
But
right.
so I meditate, I journal, and then I do my gratitudes before I get out of bed in the morning,
Okay.
right? I start my day in this very feminine way because I work in pharma and now I'm running my own business. I am a very masculine energy type of person. It's like, let's get things done. Let's just work, 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 right? And I forget to go into my feminine energy. So I start my day off that way. So that this way, at least I put myself in that energy. But now I'm becoming more aware of this and I fit it in sometimes in the middle of my day wherever I can. And I end my day with it too,
Okay.
right?
Okay.
These are recommendations that I can make. But Stephen, I'm here for you. Like we are in Modern Mentor together. Reach out to me.
I will. I
Let's chat.
will. Last thing I'm going to say is, as a country boy, somebody that has always looked at the ground, because Dad did say to me at one point in time, if you want to work the farm, you got to learn what the ground is telling you. So I know how to grow things. I've got the green blah blah blah. On the flip side of that coin, I could never figure out the moon until I was just researching something that said, because I always like was admiring the sun because of the ability to grow food, right? And somebody that is devout said, you know, the moon is feminine, right? And he said the sun is masculine. And I thought, holy crap, maybe he's right. So after this call, I'm going down to the river and I'm going to look at the harvest moon, the last super moon of the
I was
year.
just gonna say it is a full moon today.
It is. It is.
Yeah.
So, and I've never been somebody that's been in that arena in regards to that thinking,
Yeah.
right? And now it's like, really? Just that little door's open. So I'm gonna go and just sit on the river and just watch the world go by and look at the moon.
And meditate during that time because the stuff that comes to you during that time is pretty powerful.
I will take that advice, and I will actually reach out as well.
Absolutely. Please do.
I will.
Please do.
And by the way,
Thank you
thank
so
you.
much for sharing.
My pleasure. That's who I am,
Absolutely.
by the way. I'm a Okay, so I have an open mind. I don't have a vacant mind, and I'm an open book. Okay, so
That is awesome. I truly appreciate you sharing and being vulnerable. I mean, we've gone through so much the last 2 days. I am actually blown away at the conversations we've had here. They're so powerful. And I I know Elizabeth, you had your hand up and I want you to put your hand back up and if you want to share something. Um,
Very short, very
yeah.
short. You know, I think we adults, Stephen, I don't know if this is helpful, but we forget to have fun, So every day, like intentionally say, let's have fun. That's something that I made it very intentional with my husband. We've been married for 23 years and I always say, hey, what are we gonna do for fun today? Like that is my daily goal with me and my husband. And with myself too. What am I gonna do that's fun today? Like we forgot to have fun, be joyous. And so for me to hear you say you gotta go to the river and do that just made me so happy. I'm like, yes, Stephen,
I
have
love
fun. How about like jump in the river if it's
It's a
if
little
it's
cold for
warm
that right
enough?
I
about
was just gonna
now.
say
Oh, okay.
it's gotten chilly.
Yeah, like just have fun and just be, lighthearted and just, whether it's with your kids, your, significant other. For me, it's me and my husband. I always say, let's have fun. What are we gonna do today? Whether it's like, it doesn't have to be anything big, but for me, it's been like, going for a walk or having a meal, right? Or going to a baseball game or whatever it is. Just don't forget to have fun. Stephen. It's yeah, from here to dead. Just every day, just have fun.
And by the way, just so you know, Elizabeth, I ended my last career because when I was trying to build my business out, she said to me, I can get you a job because she was in human resources for the education system. So I worked in the elementary schools, and the spec ed teachers were just wonderful, wonderful people. So please go down that path because there's a strong need for it.
Thank
So
you.
in the
Thank you.
meantime, in the background, our spins were done for our draw for today. We need a third spin, Amber, because we need the grand prize too. Um, so spin one was for a one-on-one with me. And Stephen, you get to have that,
Perfect. I look forward to it.
right? So
I do.
fitting. Um,
Nothing happens by coincidence, Lynn.
right?
Everything actually is a God incident. And I've come to that conclusion.
I truly agree with that. Um, And today I upgraded from an empty Kleenex box to my beautiful friend Amber, who has decided to give me a tool that will actually do a spin and pick the names out. So, um, second spin is Elizabeth. So, Elizabeth, you get a one-on-one with me plus 25% off.
Yay! I love to be part of this.
And then
Thanks.
my last spin, I might cry. It's Rustin. You get my grand prize. And beyond deserving
And
of it.
I'm a wiener.
You are.
Lighten it up a little bit. Lighten it up a little bit. Thank you so much, so much. I absolutely love winning things because then I get to, spread this love all over the place. So
Right?
thank you so much.
Wow. Um, I wanna finish this off quickly before I present you with my program. So I want you guys to think of your limiting beliefs. You're gonna get a second workbook. Um, the second workbook will walk you through turning the limiting beliefs that you identified yesterday into empowering ones. It'll also ask you to put an affirmation, a positive affirmation next to each. And then those affirmations, I invite you to start journaling about those every day. Write them down. Start believing them. Start embodying them. Make them a part of who you are, and they will become so. Right? That is what I invite you to do. Um, and I think the workbook is now in the chat, but it'll also be sent out with the replay. Does anybody have any questions about today's homework or anything else that they want to share? The floor is still open. I know we're at an hour now, but I don't mind going over if you guys are good. No? All right, I am going to just quickly, oh yes, if you haven't joined our Facebook group yet, the Ascension Collective, it is a public group, but you do need to join and I need to approve it. But please do so. We share all kinds of stuff there, even our future events. We'll be sharing that. Funny enough, it's actually also going to be the name of my community within my program. It is going to be called the Ascension Collective Community, which I think is I kind of love the whole rising in spirit and the ascension connection. All right, okay, here we go. All right.